Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I want to do a tiny bit of housekeeping first. Remind you about a couple things that are going on today. At the Market Center today, there is a top producer mastermind from 1:30 to 2:30. That is for people that are 8 transactions or more each year. So that is at the Market Center from 1:30 to 2:30. And then we have I believe Aubrey's going to be running that. And then we're going to have another one today at the Market Center called Becoming a Top Producer. And that is for people that are shy of 8 transactions a year, brand new, everyone's invited. So if less than 8 transactions, go to the session with Robin. That's from 3 o'clock to 4:30 today, also at the Market Center, and top producers from 1:30 to 2:30, okay? Both of those should be available through Zoom. And remember, the website for that is kwroswelltraining.com. Okay. Little housekeeping for next week really quickly is next Wednesday from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock is the 36 Touch workshop. So there's a flyer that was put out. It's around the office now. And it was included on the email that Mel sends out every day. And I believe there's a sign up link for that. So that's from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And it does count for CE credit. Okay. I believe you have to technically be in the room for CE credit, but it does count. Okay. And just so you have it in the back of your mind, I am going to be teaching a class called the Life by Design workshop. It's going to be sort of similar to what I taught a month or so ago, but what I'm realizing, if I can be really blunt with you guys, is that felt more like a lecture and less like a workshop. And the intention is for it to be a workshop. So we're going to kind of slow it down a little bit. We're gonna do some really filling out the stuff right then and there, and try to make sure that you leave the room with some tangible, information and confirmation of where you are versus where you want to be, and get you thinking about, are there things that I need to incorporate into my life or my business that are currently not there? I'll give you an example or two. Disability insurance, life insurance, being an LLC, having a CPA, these kind of things. Make sense? Okay. Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry, Bill, when was that again?
Oh, you're right. I didn't tell you, did I? I was checking to make sure you guys are listening. Okay, 1:30 to 3:30 next Friday. So that's September the 3rd, Friday, 1:30 to 3:30. Okay. That will be here, and I guess let me think about that for a second. We'll probably use the office as Zoom for that, KW Roswell training, because it's not technically a PC thing. It's for everybody. Okay. So that's Friday, 1:30 to 3:30. I want to welcome Jenna. She's in my upper right-hand corner. Jenna, would you like to introduce yourself? Sorry, I didn't give you any warning at all. Get used to it. That's kind of the way we are around here.
Hi, I'm Gina, and then I'm the new agent.
Welcome.
So yeah, thank you. So I got my license 2 weeks ago, and then I always interested in the real estate. I have a very various, like, the background, like I have I work for the engineer company, designer company, and then the food inspection company, like a lot of company. But I wanted to control my the schedule more, and then I wanted to put my effort and I get the money same time. So always since I always interested in the real estate, so I studied, and then end up I got the license. I'm really enjoying it, learning everything right now. So I hope, I know I can do, but I hope like I can learn faster than I
Yeah.
can like, helping the other SEU.
Well,
So thank
you have
you.
joined the right office, and you have joined the right productivity group, right? We are all here to cheer each other on, to support one another through the good days and the bad days. And you got a bunch of caring, giving people here. And any questions that come across your plate that you're uncertain about, or whatever it is, just reach out to one of us, and we're going to help you. Okay. So welcome
Okay,
aboard.
thank you.
Welcome aboard. She's being humble. She was like a regional manager and all that kind of stuff for all those places. So we got a smart one here. Okay. Candace,
Yes.
before we move into open houses, was there anything that you heard? I'm also putting her on the spot. Was there anything that you heard yesterday at the leadership mega camp that you'd like to share?
Oh, by so many things. One is that Keller Williams has rolled out a real estate school that will actually teach people they'll teach about littoral rights, which you'll never say again once you pass your test, but they also teach you how to really be a realtor, how to really get into real estate and start your business, and it's going to be free. So if you know anyone who at all is interested in real estate, they can learn from the best. They've taken time to put this together. They can learn from the best. They can come out of it actually not with the overwhelm that everybody comes out of real estate school with, but knowing what to do.
Yep. It's going to be a mixture of what you already experienced, which is like how many feet are in a mile and what's riparian rights and these kind of things. But it's also going to include probably a lot of what you see in Bold and Ignite and some of that basic stuff of getting, understanding lead generation, understanding systems, how to use technology, right? Some stuff on, what to say and how to interact with your customers, right? Just to go into a tiny bit more detail on that, right now it's going to be available in 20, they're rolling it out probably by the beginning of the year, 26 states, one of them is Georgia. And then by probably sooner than later, they should have access for all 50 states. And just to make sure you guys heard that clearly, it's going to be free. Okay, so anybody, anywhere that wants to get into the business can get into the business for free. The also cool part about that is if, let's say, you have an unlicensed assistant and you didn't want to pay for their license, or they didn't want to pay for their license or something like that, now they can go get their license for free, and now they can do more stuff, right? So that could be an incredible opportunity for you and your business if you are interacting with somebody who could get into the business, or maybe the cost of school is a roadblock for them. Now that's gone. Okay, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you added all good stuff. The other thing is that Gary Keller and the team, the leadership team there, are trying to. They know that our industry is changing, and they're trying to keep up with how can we be agent centric. And so they've rolled out some things that are really exciting. They've rolled out the luxury, but we've had the luxury division, but they've enhanced
it basically.
Say again.
They've just improved the luxury product essentially.
Yeah. So they've rolled out the luxury division. They're rolling out the commercial division, which will be improved as well. And they're rolling out a new military division, and they're rolling out a sports and entertainment division.
Yep. So these are all headed by very well accomplished leaders across the country, and they're calling it segments. So we're going to have a lot of opportunity for all of those types of people, right? Luxury, sports and entertainment, veterans and military, commercial, luxury, all that stuff. So everything, the only thing I would slightly correct you on, Candace, is we're not trying to figure out how to keep the agent at the center of the transaction. We started that trend 40 years ago.
Yes.
Right. We are ahead of the industry. We started talking about technology 5 years ago, and everyone laughed at us. Right. And now they're all saying they're tech companies.
Yeah.
Right. So we are leading the charge. I don't want you guys to think you're on some train that doesn't know what they're doing.
No,
So Bill, those segments, is it just like, how do you become involved? Is it just training? Is it something you have to get certified for?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
what's
truth
what's
is
the
right now,
deal?
I do not know. Um,
Okay.
it was just announced yesterday. I'm sure the leaders will be kind of sending that message down through the through all the regional leaders and market center leaders, and we will certainly have more information for you. But I just want to let you guys know that lots of stuff is happening behind the scenes. I got a chance to hear Carl Liebert, who is our KWX CEO, who I've heard him a bunch, but we heard him a lot yesterday, and he is just a man. Obviously, he's a smart guy, right? He's led a lot of companies over time. When we met him the other day, he said that I assume this is public knowledge since he told us, but he ultimately chose the job of CEO of KWX, and he had previously been offered the job he chose KWX over was FedEx. FedEx wanted him to be CEO. So we got a phenomenal leader here. Okay.
And I can tell you that the thing that I heard that was really impactful yesterday is the time to have vision is before the problem. And that's what Keller Williams does. They have the vision before the problem ever gets to fruition. And so what the thinking is that agents can earn more income in some of these areas. They'll have more opportunity to earn more income in some of these areas. And the goal of Gary Keller is always to create agents who are successful, right? Really successful and living a, his attitude is that he wants us to be living a life that's worth living and not spinning our wheels all day long. So I loved everything I heard yesterday. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a class, there's a really good class coming up. It's in September. It's called Unconscious Bias. And if any of you went to Mega Camp, you heard that the diversity is changing in our country rapidly, and that we need to be able to speak to all kinds of different people and help all kinds of different people. And if we have unconscious biases, that can somehow, those are self-limiting beliefs, basically. So I encourage everybody, and I know Bill will too. I think it's going to be a really, I consider it mandatory to take that class.
Right, and also there was a lot of presence with Julia Lachey, who's now our director of what is her official title? Diversity and Inclusion. Okay, so ultimately it is all about helping you stay at the center of the transaction and make sure that you're equipped to help all different types of people coming from all different types of places. Okay. If you can be aware and be sensitive to all, everyone's challenges, then you're going to be a better consultant and guide for them. Okay. All right. Let's talk about any questions on anything we talked about that can't be answered by, I don't know, you'll find out soon.
A quick question about because I missed this part in Mega Camp yesterday that you're talking about the real estate thing. So that's actually going to be a pre-license course.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You can actually go get your license from that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, I didn't think about this when I first heard it. It took me a while to kind of put this into thought, but that would allow you to go get licensed in other places. So for example, let's say I wanted to be licensed in Colorado. I could just go get licensed in Colorado for free. See what I'm saying?
Or
Is
Florida.
that a Zoom thing? Is that all classes online, or they particular
So there's a dean of the initiative, essentially. Her name is Molly Mata. She's actually the one. She was a really popular Bold instructor from last year. Remember her? She's from Asheville, North Carolina. She's the dean. So I imagine it's probably going to be taught 50 different ways based on the states. All we know right now is it's happening, and it's free. And you can begin to kind of think through what that opportunity could look like.
I must have missed it. How do we find out more information? Like, how do we
keep looking at your email and keep coming to the office meetings? Because right now we don't have all the answers yet. We're committed to making sure you know everything that can help you as fast as possible. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to talk about open houses for a second today. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. Candace and I are putting together the topics for next week's morning huddles. We've got some ideas, but we also want to be receptive to things that you guys are curious about or want some additional resources for. So if you have any topics that are that you'd like to be included in the schedule, we can certainly do our best to do so. Just send me a chat or send me a link through WhatsApp. Okay. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's talk about open houses for a second. Who's hosted an open house before? Okay, what is the highest number of people you've ever had in an open house?
Maybe 35.
Yeah, 30 or so.
Okay, what's the lowest number of people you've ever had at an open house?
0.
Okay.
0.
Okay, so what do you think the difference of those two experiences is, right? In one open house, you go through all the stuff you go through and you end up with 0 people. And then in another open house, you go through all the stuff you go through and you end up with 35 people. What do you think the primary difference of those two open houses is?
Exposure and marketing.
Exposure
And
and
the
marketing?
market.
Great.
Price.
Greta, say that again?
The market,
What do you mean by that?
market.
I was gonna
I
say
mean, like-
location.
All right, Greta, what do you mean by the market?
The market right now, well, it's like,
Oh, you're saying 30, like
And
let's
it's in
say you did an open
FMLS.
house 2 years ago.
it'd be
mean,
different,
I have never had anywhere close to 35 people in an open house I've hosted.
right?
My probably the most ever is like 10 or 12, right? So the market definitely is causing those numbers to go up. Is that what you're referring to?
I'm right along with you, Bill.
What do you give me some more detail there, please?
I was just saying, like, I'm not used to having that many people in the open house. I'm used to having, between 6 to 10 people in and out.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're saying like 30 and 35, I'm just like, whoa, what was I doing wrong? But I get it when they say it's probably the market.
Okay. What else? Melissa, you were trying to say something, I think.
Oh, I was just saying like location.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
could see
think-
that. Like, let's say it's like a condo building in Buckhead and the parking's tough and you got to go to a concierge and like it's a little, there's just more challenges to get the person from their car into the open house. I can see that certainly. Anything else?
Price point.
Price point? Perhaps. I think that might be a factor, certainly. What else?
I was gonna say I learned the hard way, the first open house I did, that you need to make sure that it's published correctly.
That's where I'm headed.
Okay,
Beautiful.
yes, because it wasn't. And I finally, when I realized no one was there, I started looking it up and digging more and I realized it wasn't, the city was wrong in it or the zip code was missing. And so it didn't show up on any open house sites. Like there was no publication, no one knew about it.
Yep.
And it wasn't in an exact location. You just drive right by. So that was a big deal. So I know now to look for that and to make sure that it's in
Okay.
there, right? And I learned that if I have my own, I know to set it up correctly or no one will know about it.
Exactly. And if you're borrowing somebody else's listing, to make sure that it's, let's say you have a couple, like 3 things. Hey, this open house will be a whole lot more successful if the listing agent does this, this, and this. Have you done this, this, and this? And are you willing to, or are you willing to allow me to? Right. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of Sarah Reynolds? She's the woman that was interviewed by Gary during Mega Camp. She's out of the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area. I think she's like the number 2 or number 3 agent in all of Keller Williams.
Wow.
We heard her speak last year, and her big thing with open houses, or her team's big thing, is she has just an insane amount of signs. Like at every street corner from miles away, right? It's open house that way with a bunch of balloons. Then you get to the next intersection, it's like open house that way, bunch of balloons. And she says, I lose open house signs every week and I get ticketed by the city every week. That's just the cost of doing business, right? So I want you guys, from an overall perspective, I want you to think of this as like an event, right? If you lose a sign, yet you get a buyer, it's cool, right? If you get a $50 ticket from the city because you left your sign out too long, or you put your sign out there too early, if you get a buyer, who cares, right? Maybe the person that takes the $50 citation wants to buy a home. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, I don't know if I should have said that in public, but whatever, it's out there, I guess, right? Okay, so my point is there's different levels of open houses. Okay, so an example, an example of a level 1 open house is you just stick a sign in the ground, right? And maybe you have one sign at the front of the neighborhood and, you know, balloons that are sagging, and it's like you decided to host the open house at 10 o'clock in the morning and it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning, right? And it's basically a half-ass attempt at an open house. Okay, now if you give it a level 2 effort, or let's keep the numbers straight, a level 1 effort, you're probably going to get level 1 type results, right? Would you expect to have 35 people at an open house where you stuck the sign in the yard 10 minutes before it started? Probably not. Okay. Although, what is that? Do y'all see that? This blue line?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what that is. Okay, let me think of where I want to go with this. If instead you treat it like an event, then you start to build systems around what happens leading up to the open house, what happens during the open house, and what happens following the open house. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, how systematized are you? Right, so let's say, Lakira, you're used to hosting open houses, and I'm sure you did a great job and you got 10 people there. That's what you're used to from, let's say, 2 years ago, right? But if now you have an open house, and if done properly with the same type of effort you used before, you might have 3 times that many people, then you have to ask yourself, can I do this by myself, right? Do I need to have the sign-in stuff be a little different? How am I going to get FaceTime with every single person that walks through the door? So maybe my sign-in system needs to be a little different, right? Maybe you need to have some type of like different type of handout or something when the person comes that essentially prompts them to interact with you some way in the future, right? Like, hey, free home warranty if you schedule a buyer consultation within 7 days or something like that, right? Because if you're talking to one family and the other one walks in and they need a 1-story family room, and that home has a 2-story family room, they walk right out, you don't get a chance to talk to them, right? So how do we make certain, not only for the seller's safety and your safety, how do we make sure we get the contact information from everybody? So guys, I would not be hosting open houses alone right now. If you're going to expect anywhere close to 30 people, you should have a buddy there, right? Make sense?
And any number of people in this group would love to shadow an open house. I know I've been asked about it like 2 or 3 times. So just put out that you're hosting an open house and say who would like to shadow me. And even if you're not that experienced at it, you'll figure it out together. And I also just want to add, I always invite, when I used to do open houses, I always invited my past clients and people from my database, and I treated it like a client event. They would come, we would talk, and it was fun. I mean, it was fun. Not every client came to every open house, but it's a great way to keep in contact with your database. People like to look at houses.
Exactly. Great point. Okay, so level 2 open house, let's say we're going to improve that effort a little bit, and we're going to take it up 1 notch. That would be a sign in the yard and a sign. By the way, this document is in the Google Drive. Okay, a sign in the yard with some balloons and some riders. Okay, you'll probably get a little bit more activity, but I would say we would all agree there could be more work put into this, right? Level 3 would be everything we just talked about, plus some directional signs at key corners and additional balloons and riders, right? So if you, particularly if the home is in like deep within a neighborhood and there's a lot of turns, every turn you're going to have a sign with balloons, right? And then you probably want to go back and say, let's say the sign was in the open house, let's say was in Martin's Landing. Okay, so hopefully everyone knows that Martin's Landing is a big neighborhood on the east side of 400, right? So you might have an open house sign right off of the exit ramp, right? You might have an open house sign that takes you from like where Old Alabama splits and Nesbitt Ferry is, right? You probably also want an open house sign at the corner of Holcomb Bridge and Old Alabama. You probably also want an old open house sign from the other side. So maybe even you can go back as far as like Spalding or something, put an open house sign there. Put an open house sign in front of, you know, like the Roswell East complex or something. Like, how far are you willing to put signs out there to make it, it's almost like a maze. It's like, oh my gosh, where is this thing? Right. And then you have a sign in the front of the neighborhood. Then you have a front, you know, they have that weird entry. So you have to have another sign there and another sign, you know, to turn right or whatever. And then it could be 3 streets in. Right. So, you know, number one is, do I have all those signs? Number 2 is, am I giving it my best effort? And number 3 is, if you don't have them, how are you going to pay for them? Right.
Bill,
And
I have a
how
question
quickly
for
are gonna
you.
get 'em? Yes.
So this is about whether the open house signs should be branded or not. My feeling is that nobody can really see the name and number on those small signs. So I don't think it's necessary to do the extra work. I've been debating about that because I've been debating about getting open house branded signs and just the generic ones. And by the way, I keep some in my office if anybody needs to borrow some. You can get in there and get them. I would get them on Fridays when Melody's there, so you can get into my office. But what's your opinion about that?
I probably would brand them, honestly.
Okay.
I probably would brand them because it's free advertising. I mean, let's say you're going to do what I just described, and you've got signs over near Spalding and Peachy Corners, and you got signs over near, you know, Nesbitt Ferry and Old Alabama and the highway, and, you know, in front of all those complexes and stuff. And all these people see your name, and somebody driving from, let's say, Peachtree Corners on Holcomb Bridge all the way to like Highway 9, they could literally see your name 5 or 6 times. And then they start to think, oh my gosh, this person must have 5 listings. You see what I'm saying? I probably would brand it. Kira, did you want to ask something?
Yeah, the only thing I have to say in regards to branding them is, as you were stating, it's so easy to lose your open house signs and for them to get picked up by the city. So that's a lot of money that you might have wasted in branding. Like, I lost so many signs over the years. So you really got to know like the city ordinances and where you're putting them if you're going to spend the money to brand them. And you might not be able to do as many as you were stating unless you're really going by the guidelines.
Well, honestly, I've never really been. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Look at the ordinances, follow the rules. I never really cared about that so much, to be honest. If the sign cost me $20 and it took me an hour to find the rules, I'd rather just buy the sign and lose the sign.
And in many cases, the city doesn't work on the weekends. So if you put your signs out after 5 on Friday and pick them up on Sunday, you're pretty safe in most cases. The sign police come out on Monday morning. That's why you start to see, like for new home communities, you'll see 50 million signs on the weekend, but you won't see them during the week.
Yeah. Just to make sure everyone heard that correctly, spend some time researching the rules. I'm not telling you guys to break the rules. I'm just saying you're not going to make any money by researching the rules.
I was going to say too, if you went to Mega Camp, the like Build a Sign, who does signs for our office, they had like a 60% off offer. I think it's good through the end of the month.
Oh, thank you.
But the signs, like I got signs with my picture and my name and my number and everything, and they were less than $10.
Open house ones?
Yeah.
Will you share that?
And they were the
link in the
12,
chat?
like the 12 by 18 size, like big size. Like it wasn't like the tiny ones.
Will you share that link in the chat, please?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That would be
Okay.
great.
So the next level would be putting out some type of flyers the week before and doing some kind of email invitation or post it on websites, right? Like Ryan was referring to earlier. Is it posted on the open house website? Is there a note on the listing actually that there'll be an open house at a certain time, right? Is there any type of marketing done? Is there a Facebook Live kind of teasing it? Hey, look at this. This is the home I'll be hosting open on Sunday from 2 to 4. Wait till you see what they did in the master bathroom. This renovation is phenomenal. And the backyard, oh my gosh, you guys got to come and see this from 2 to 4, right? So tease it a little bit, right? Again, be safe, right? Please be safe. Don't wear like 10-inch heels at an open house, right? You know, you just need to be aware if you're particularly if you're a woman, I hate to say it this way, but particularly if you're a woman and you say, hey, I will be at this house from 2 to 4, come and see me. I might be alone, right? Just be safe, okay? The next level open house would be go invite 100 neighbors, right? Can you knock 25 doors on this side of the house, 25 doors on this side of the house, and 50 homes or 50 houses across the street, right? Are you willing to tell the neighbors, right? Can you use that as an opportunity to let them know that you have a business and you are in the field, right? And that you want to cordially invite them to the open house. Maybe you do the open house from 2 to 4 and invite neighbors from 1 to 2. Right, it'll be open just for neighbors from 1 to 2. Right, come and see the renovations that they did. Get a chance to see the value or see the price. You know, this home in this condition is listed for 400. What do you think about that? Right. Sometimes people will say, oh well, I get the nosy neighbors that want to come over. The nosy neighbors own a home. Why you got a bad attitude about meeting people?
Right.
Right. So the nosy neighbors might have real estate goals too. So just find them out so you can service them whenever they need servicing. See what I'm saying? Okay. Because it's just people with needs. Okay. The next thing you could do is get on the phone that morning and remind everyone it's happening, or the day before, right? Heather Fowler, one of her scripts is, hey, I just wanted to call you. There's probably going to be a lot of traffic on your street on Sunday because we're having an open house event. So I just wanted to call and apologize for that, first of all. And second of all, it starts at 2 and it ends at 5. Would love to have you. We're previewing, or we're inviting the neighbors from 1 to 2 if you want to see the work that they've done in the home. And, you know, since you're in the area and apparently you love living here, maybe you want to help pick your neighbor. Do you happen to know anyone that wants to move to the area? Have you considered selling? I mean, a 4-bed, 2.5 bath is now for $400,000. The last sale was, you know, last year, the average sale was $325,000. Have you ever thought about moving? By the way, when was the last time that you thought about moving? Or do you know anyone from church or work or the neighborhood that's considered moving that our team can help? By the way, while I got you in front of me, when it comes to real estate, who is it that you trust, right? So I'm moving right into those 3 questions, right? They're like, they're in my head and they will never leave my head. Make sense? The next thing that you could do is, oh, I've already done level 6. Okay, and then level 7 would be hold 4 other open houses in the area and various price ranges. So, you know, that might be a little beyond where most of us are, but how can you piggyback on other people's efforts, right? So let's say somebody walks into your place and you've got a $350,000 listing and you're in conversation with that prospect and they say, oh, my budget's $250,000. Say, oh, well, two neighborhoods over, if you just take the second right and go in the first left and whatever, there's a house there that our team is also listing, that might be a better fit for you. Something like that, right? So do you have any other, and another kind of way to do that, by the way, would be if you don't actively have the listings yourself, maybe you could have a stack of homes that are similar to your property. You could have some that are a little bit more expensive. You could have some that are less expensive. And if somebody says, oh, well, I'm looking for a home with a 2-story family room, or, oh my gosh, I need the home with the basement. Say, oh, here's a home with the basement. I'm finishing this at 5. Can I show it to you at 5:30? Right? It goes back to preparation, right? So
Yeah.
somebody comes in and they say, oh, I need 5 bedrooms, not 4. So, oh, wonderful. Here's a home for 5 bedrooms. It's just right around the corner. Can I meet you there at 5:30? Greta.
I guess my question to that is that, you know, you talk about preparation. Is it better to say, you know, I'd love to meet and talk about your needs so that I get exactly what you want, versus investing all that time finding out the inventory, because the likelihood of someone wanting to be right. I mean, you know what I mean?
You're
Like,
saying the
that's a lot of
likelihood
work.
of what the scenario I just played out, you saying that has a low likelihood of happening?
That I'm saying that I can get that done by saying, I'd love to meet and talk to you about it. I'm sure I can find, I know there are homes on it. Let's get together and talk about it together.
Yeah, I think both of us are saying the right thing, which is like, it's kind of like saying, let's say you're in a car lot, right? And you've got kind of like the slightly higher than mid-range car, and I'm the salesman and you're the woman that came in to ask about the car, right? And you look around and you're sitting in the seat and you're experiencing it and all that, and I say, hey, we also have a the next model includes this really cool computer screen, and it's self-driving, and you know, the seats do like some massage while you're sitting in it. Would you like to go sit in that car? You have a much more likelihood getting them to buy the higher level car if they can experience it right then and there. So yes, I would agree the scenario I just laid out is probably unlikely to happen. The worst case scenario is that you are prepared and you spend an extra couple of minutes having a better understanding about that local market, right? What else is comparable? What's a little on the higher end? What's a little on the lower end, right? I was having a conversation with, I forget who it was yesterday, and we were talking about rentals. And one of the things that we said is like, I mean, many of you guys know, much of my business was built on rentals. Okay, I don't even know how many. Okay, and I didn't get paid that much to do it, but I built a hell of a database doing it, right? And my thought, I had to adopt a different mindset in order to, you know, happily show up at work every day, right? And the mindset I set up was, I am being forced to go look at inventory. And if it wasn't for this renter that's asking to show me homes in Alpharetta that were, you know, priced at this, I wouldn't go in and out of these properties, most likely. So this person, thank God they're calling me and they're asking to join me as I go do my job. My job is to learn the market, right? And so I was building the relationship. And when I explained to them how I was paid, because we always should explain to our people how we're paid, it became incredibly obvious that I wasn't getting paid much, right? And so now they have this kind of weird feeling like they have some obligation to you, which I took advantage of, right? And I got an opportunity to see the market. So I had more of a preparation and more confidence around, you know, all the different opportunities available, right? So I didn't look at it and say, oh my gosh, I got to drive to, you know, Cumming and show these renters, I'm only going to get paid $200. I said, oh, I haven't seen any homes in, you know, the $300 price range, or the, let's say, $1,600 price range in Cumming. Can't wait to do that. At least I have company.
And I'd just like to add to that, that it's not happening in this market. I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but there was a time when part of our service to buyers was that we would go preview the homes before we ever showed them to them.
I remember
And so
those days.
you would spend your you know, couple of days, you'd spend your couple of days before putting together a list of homes to see, and it would be a list of homes to see, and you'd preview them and then show them the homes that were closest matched to what they said they would do. And it really got, and also previewing new home communities was something that we did regularly.
Right. Well, just to piggyback on that idea is, in some respects, you could preview without previewing. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you've asked a lot of questions of your buyer, which you should, to determine, are there any nuances of the house that have got to happen? Like, for example, you know, there would be, there's several communities where it's very important to them what direction the home faces, right? Or what quadrant of the home the kitchen is in, right? Based on like where the sun rises and sets and all kinds of stuff, religious stuff, right? So if I knew I was working with a client like that, I already know exactly how this is going to go, right? They're going to get out of their car. I'm going to get out of my car. And while we're fiddling around with the lockbox, they're going to look at the direction of the home. If it's the wrong direction, they don't care what the inside looks like. They don't want to buy the home. So if I keep dragging them to homes that don't fit their specific need, they think I'm not listening, or they think I'm unprepared, or both, which is really bad, right? So let's say, for example, it's hard. They need a Jack and Jill bathroom and bedroom setup upstairs. And when you look at the pictures, it's not quite clear if that's the setup, right? So call the listing agent or text them and say, hey, is there a Jack and Jill upstairs? My buyer's got to have a Jack and Jill. Is that the case? Yes. Okay, it's on the list. No, thank God. I don't have to waste my time showing that home, right? So you should ask enough questions to know what the must-haves are and what the must-have-nots are, right? So for example, if somebody wants a big backyard, we've talked about this a bunch of times, that's too vague, right? Hey, a big backyard means a lot of things to a lot of different people. I'm curious, what does it mean to you, right? If somebody grew up on a farm, a 20 by 20 yard is tiny. If somebody grew up in Manhattan, a 20 by 20 yard is a dream. See what I'm saying? So we got to figure when they say stuff like that is a little unclear in terms of, it could, my definition of that word and your definition of that word could certainly be different. Then just ask some more questions. Hey, is there anything, this is another good point. Especially in this market, it wasn't as easy to do in the prior markets, but in this market, when I show somebody a house, I want one of two things to happen. You're either going to buy it or you're going to tell me why you're not buying it, right? So you're either going to say, hey, this is the one, let's go write an offer on it, or you're going to say, the reason why I do not like this home is, right? The reason why I do not like this home is because I don't like the way that the kitchen opens to the family room. Okay, in your perfect home, how would you like your kitchen to open to the family room? Once you know the answer, you better look at pictures for every single property that they send you and or call the agent if necessary to make sure you don't take them to a property that specifically is against what they've asked for, right? And if they send you a home that has that, you call them back and say, hey, I checked and that home's kitchen opens this way. And from what I remember my notes in our conversation last week that you wanted it this way. Has anything changed? And they say, oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you for reminding me that, right?
Bill, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what happens if, and I face this challenge a lot, they just like, oh, well, I just want to go see it. And I'm trying not to be like, why are we going to see something that you know ultimately that you're not going to want? Like, I don't want to be that blunt saying it, but in the back of my head, that's the way that I feel. Like, if this was your must have and you had to have an open kitchen and you didn't like a galleyway, why are we in a kitchen that has, I guess that's what it's called, like a galley kitchen?
Well, there's a lot of different phrases. A galley kitchen is like where it's basically closed on one end. It's like almost like a hallway.
Yeah.
Right. How do you address that? The first thing that comes to mind is you got to know your clients a little bit. Like I would get pretty, like I tried to create an environment with my client, an experience with my client where they could straight talk to me and I could straight talk to them, right? So many clients I could say, hey, you told me you don't want that kind of kitchen. Why are we going to see that house, right? If you don't know the person and you don't have great rapport with them, you can't speak like that, right? But I might say, hey, I want you to imagine something, okay? You walk into that home and you love every part of that home except for the way the kitchen is. Would you consider buying this home? Yes. Okay, let's go. If you fall in love with this home and then you see for your own eyes that it's a galley kitchen and you do not want a galley kitchen, would you consider buying this home, assuming that it was perfect otherwise? No, I'm not going to buy this home. Okay, well then it's a waste of your time, right? One of my jobs is to make sure that I am efficient with your time. And if you're not prepared to purchase a home, particularly in this environment, there's really no point in looking at it, right? Or I might say, hey, based on what you told me, it seems like this would not be a match. So is there something that's changing, or have you seen something in the pictures that causes this to be an anomaly of some sort, right? So just challenge them a little bit on it. Like just ask them another question or two, right? Like I remember a guy, this is back when we, there was deals all over the place, right? And I was working with somebody who specifically said they wanted to be in Marietta. And then they sent me what they called a good deal, but it was in Canton. And I called them, I said, this home's in Canton. They're like, well, it's a good deal. I said, wait a second. Are we buying a house or are we buying a deal? And they're like, we're buying a house. I said, would you consider moving to Canton? No, I need to be in the East Cobb school districts. Okay, stop looking at homes in Canton. Okay, because you will find something you like because you can get more for your money in Canton than East Cobb, right? You do not want to take somebody to a home they cannot afford. That's a slightly different topic, but look, if somebody can afford a $350,000 house and you show them a $450,000 house, guess what? They're going to love it. Okay. But they can't afford it. It's not good for their psyche. It's a waste of time. Okay. Make sense? Any thoughts, questions, complaints, feedback? Did you learn something today?
Hey, Bill, I had a thought that just came across my mind.
Yeah, please.
So when I do my buyer consultations, I tell you I always have my lender on. And he typically has a rule of 4, meaning whatever your annual income is, multiplied by 4. And, that's like a rough estimate of how much you can be approved for a house. And so typically I'll start the process like 3 to 4 months in advance, and I'll set them up just on a soft FMLS, auto email, maybe like twice a week. And I tell them that that's a way for me to kind of gather information in neighborhoods that they may be interested in. And so I thought about that I could potentially, instead of them asking me, just, be like, hey, I see you like a lot of homes in this particular neighborhood. Do you want to view one of them just so I can see if I need to send a golden letter? So when it's time for you to actually be pre-approved around the time that your lease may end or something, we can already be at that point to find a buyer, because at the end of the day, when you send a letter, it's not where they're going to be ready tomorrow, whenever, your client want to be in that particular neighborhood.
Yeah. What is the specific question though?
This is just in regards to viewing the homes prior to, or just seeing, like, someone said that I want to see a home. And you're like, okay, why do you want to see this home? And you're not
you never ask questions like that though. I know you wouldn't do that, but we try not.
Right, but if they say that they want to see the home and we're like, why do you want to go to this neighborhood? I guess that's the point. But they really like the homes in their neighborhood and they're maybe pre-qualified for it. It came to my mind that if the rule of 4 works out and they like a lot of homes in their neighborhood and they're kind of prematurely looking maybe 3 months in advance and they'll be ready in the next 60 days, and it could be like, hey, let's go see one home in that neighborhood to see if I should go ahead and send golden letters out maybe 60 days prior, so when it's time for you to purchase, that we can already maybe have an off-market deal, is what I'm saying.
I think that's a great strategy, and I don't know if you were asking this, but if you're saying,
well, it just came to my mind when you all were talking about it. That's why I was like, let me share.
Well, I think number one, I think that's a great idea, and you're sort of implying, I think, should I show a buyer who isn't necessarily ready and isn't necessarily pre-approved a property that we believe, based on the rule of the ×4 logic, he or she could likely afford in the future? The answer to that is yes. I would definitely do that, because you're building a relationship. That's the name of the games, is relationships. They want to see that home. Here's the deal. They want to see that home, and they will not stop until they see that home. And it's either going to be through you or some other realtor. So absolutely.
Right. And then based off the information that you're gathering, that you're sending them from like if you have somebody set up on auto emails, like, oh, I see you like a lot of homes in this neighborhood. And do you want to go see one, versus them kind of like, I'm not ready yet. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, she asked me, or he asked me if I want to kind of go out because he or she is paying attention to what I'm looking at on the portal versus just sending me stuff.
All right, there's a number of things I want to comment on there. So first of all, you want to make sure that the person understands that when you set them up on a portal, you would have access to what they're looking at.
Right.
So that when you say, hey, I see you're looking at a bunch of homes in Canton and you say you want it to be in Marietta, can you clarify that for me? They're not, you're spying on me, right? Make sure they know that
I'm
that's
creepy like that.
right, that's like a thing, right? That we're a team here, and I'm able to see, you know, if you're looking at anything in particular. So that's an expectation setting point, right? So if later you say, hey, I see you're, you know, looking at this and this and this, you know, that's a little different than I remember you talking about. Can you clarify that for me? They're not like, oh my gosh, you can see every mouse click, right? So that's one point. The next point is, this is a relationship business. Anytime you get a chance within reason to get belly to belly with somebody, go do it. Okay. As soon as you meet somebody, everything changes. Now there is a new degree of potential loyalty and these kind of things, where if I were to show, let's say, Michael a home 3 months before he's ready, then he will feel, even if it's subconsciously, he will feel a pull towards giving me the opportunity because I've spent time with him. So do it. Go meet with somebody if given the opportunity, even if it's for a cup of coffee, just to get to know them and their family better or whatever. See what I'm saying? Does that, Markia, does that cover the things you were talking about?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah, make sure you're setting great expectations. And in that expectation meeting, by the way, you could say things like, you know, if should any time your search criteria change, or after we're looking at properties, you realize that you really do want a 2-story family room and you wouldn't consider buying a home without it, then let me know, and we won't waste time going to see homes that don't make sense for you. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, I wouldn't want to go look at homes that don't make sense for me. Good, me either. Right.
I just want to say one thing, because I know we've got some new people on here.
Chris, you're making me laugh.
So is the golden letter are letters that are written to homeowners that don't have their homes on the market yet, in order to try and find listings on behalf of your buyers. Just to explain that. So
right, you're sending out basically a solicitation letter that says, I'm working with somebody that wants to move into your neighborhood. Would you consider selling your home to that person, or something of that nature?
The reason
the
I'm
way-
laughing is because I'm looking at kind of hearing the dialogue, and kind of what I found is so many agents find buyers like they're not willing to put in the extra time. We're talking about preparation, right? We do it for a listing. We're going to do CMAs. We're going to run comps. We're going to do all this pre-leg work to hopefully get the listing, right? But for the buyer, we're not looking at what's around. We're not looking at other neighborhoods, other subdivisions, other things that we can offer. It's just that value add. And it's just so interesting to not just this group, but to hear it even in the office where people are like, oh, well, why don't you just come tell me what you need so that I know, where it's almost just a reactive, okay, let me just write it down, opposed to gathering information, doing a little prep work, sounding a little more polished, where you're going to differentiate yourself from another buyer specialist. It's just interesting to me. That's why I was laughing, because just kind of hearing the different dialogues, I've been hearing, this has kind of been a theme, not this week, but last week, because I don't know, I've just been working with other people who have been shadowing me with open houses. They've done others. And it just seems like it's been almost, they have this lackadaisy attitude toward buyers, like as if it's not worth the time. And I'm telling them, I'm like, it is. It's the same commission split. Like, it is worth the time. And so it's just all, like Candace said, mindset, perception. And it's kind of like what you had to do working with the renters, just shifting that mindset, how you see it, how you view it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think anybody in this, let me just double check. Yes, I don't think anyone in this group should be passing up buyers. Yes, if given the opportunity, I would prefer to work with sellers. Okay, but you guys are in the business. Your chief priority right now is building your database.
I
You know-
agree with,
You know what buyers do? They buy homes, and then you have a seller.
but sometimes, and I agree with what everyone is saying, but I kind of feel that if you're on the seller side, that's kind of like a guaranteed close, opposed to sometimes with buyers is it can happen. It may not get to the closing table. Like you're more.
100%. I hear you.
I
It's that uncertainty because they could always walk away, right?
Yeah,
But-
and then people, they think that they're ready. Like I had a lady, and when I broke down how much she would actually have to come to the table with, now she's kind of ghosted me, but I've spent a lot of time touring her, doing everything. She was close to where I live. She thought she was ready until she saw those numbers, and then it's just like, wait.
Well, you know what I'm going to tell you, right?
Go ahead, Bill.
You need to flip the order of what you did. You should be explaining all the financials to her
Up
before
front.
you go and look at stuff.
You're right. No, I did that.
Maybe one day out just so you can build the relationship. But guys, they're not. The relationship you should be seeking is the relationship with the prospect. And if they ultimately are ready today, great. If they're not ready today, it doesn't make a difference. You'll need a paycheck next year too, right? So we're playing the infinite game here. We are in the relationship building phase. I could care less if you're ready to go now. I just want to learn more about you and figure out when you're ready to go, because I'll need a closing that time too. Does that make
And
sense?
Ebony,
Mhm.
both agreements could get canceled, right? I mean,
They
I've had
can.
so it's all about like what we were talking about, that initial pre-list of work and research that once I go ahead and talk to you, like if we narrow it down, there's no need to see 7 homes. I'm gonna get you on 3, and then if I'm gonna tailor it if we didn't find it there, and then I'm gonna get you within 6. Like I'm not
Absolutely.
making 2.
That's
That's
a
it.
great. Let me close with this idea. I was in a bold class probably 8 or 9 years ago, and the instructor said, and I laughed at him, not at him, but I was like, "There's no way that's true." When I heard it, and now I believe it 100%. He said that if you show more than 5 homes to a buyer, one of 2 things is happening. Either you don't know the market well enough, or you have not asked enough questions.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. And I'm not saying don't show number 6 to somebody. I'm just saying understand you probably need to ask them some more questions to confirm that looking at this home would not be a waste of everybody's time. And you probably need to spend time weekly learning the markets in which you plan to work, so that you can say something like, oh my gosh, did you know that neighborhood, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like there's a neighborhood that this used to be such a problem. It really still is. It's called Lenox Villas. It's right at the corner of where where Sidney Marcus and Beaufort Highway kind of meet. And the way the entrance of the neighborhood is like, it's in the worst spot. It is such a pain to get in and out of there, right? And you end up having to do this U-turn right at Lenox and all this stuff, right? So if somebody wanted to see a home in that neighborhood, I'd say, hey, since you're in the area, swing by and look at the way that entrance is, because I've found that a lot of people don't like that. You just want to do that really fast. So like you can know things about neighborhoods that you can, say, hey, I'm not saying this is a good neighborhood or not. I'm just saying, here's the facts. Will you go check it out? See if that's something that bothers you? You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Definitely. And you know what? Trial and error. Like there's been so much stuff now like that I've done that I will never repeat the same mistake again. It's just like, okay,
Yeah, you
mental
heard.
note, that didn't work.
You know the story I told you yesterday.
That was funny.
Should I tell everyone?
I think you should.
All right, we'll end on this. Speaking of trial and error, the very first listing I ever had was a condo in Buckhead. Had a similar parking situation. Terrible parking, right? I was an idiot, and I was just running a few minutes late to the appointment, and so I honked the horn at this woman who was in front of me because she apparently didn't know where to go, and I was like, honk honk, come on, what are you doing? Right? Guess who my buyer was?
Oh my gosh.
Guess who did not get paid for that relationship? Right? Live and learn, y'all. So, all right.
Oh, Bill, really quickly, just because I forgive me because I'm doing it while we're on the call, but I've been looking for envelopes for my golden letters, and Michael's has a fantastic deal right now for a couple days. If
Oh, would
anyone's
you-
looking for envelopes.
Would you post
What's
that
the
link
deal?
on the chat as well, please?
And also,
I can't, but I'll put it in the WhatsApp group.
But that's what I
And-
meant. Yeah. I don't
and
want you to
Note
just
Card
hear it.
Cafe, notecardcafe.com has 1,000 envelopes for $56 with tax and shipping. It ends up to be 63. And you can get them all one color, or you can get multicolors.
Yeah, I love
What is that,
website.
Candace?
Yeah, it's-
called,
I put-
Yeah, that's way
Card.
better.
Yeah.
It's in the Keller Williams section on Facebook. I put it in there, the link.
Oh, I missed that.
It's I just posted the site in the help group. It's called notecardcafe.com. I've used them for handwritten notes forever. They sell like these colorful blank unbranded note cards, and they're glossy and colorful and like a little thicker hardstock paper, and the envelopes are higher quality. They're not like that flimsy stuff you see at the dollar store or whatever. And you can get, I think, 72 of them for like $17, something like that.
And kudos to Ryan, because she's the one that made that discovery about the 1,000 envelopes.
Yeah, you guys,
Yeah, but
I love the fact that we're seeing opportunities in the marketplace, and we have a mindset of abundance, and we're willing to share the information. So I'm very, very, very happy to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, but if you forget or whatever, it is in the Roswell Rocks Facebook group. It was in there, I think, from last week or something like that. So, but it's got that link in case you forget.
Cool. All right, guys, don't forget the masterminds today. And this is the last weekend of the month. So take a look at your results this month. Take stock of whether you've held enough appointments. Take stock of whether you have done the appropriate activities. And look, let's focus forward. Let's not get frustrated or upset about what's happened in the past. Let's just set a plan to move forward and to think big and to get back on track. Okay. All
Hey,
right.
Bill, what time is the mastermind, and what, I haven't been to, I don't think I've been to one of those. What do you cover?
So the theory of the mastermind is basically you're going to get in a room with people who are in the same rough production level, right? There'll be some new people there, almost certainly, right? And you basically sit in a circle, and for you, becoming a top producer is with Robin. That's today from 3 to 4:30. Okay, I think that's where everyone is. Yeah, 3 to 4:30, becoming a top producer with Robin. So Robin will kind of be the MC, if you will, right? And she'll probably ask some prompting questions about what you guys are experiencing. And then, just like we do all the time in here, Ryan would say, for example, oh my gosh, I got this great envelope deal for the golden letters. Hey, what did you find lately? Hey, what mistakes have you made lately? Hey, what worked for you in terms of, listing price recently, or what piece of technology are you using? So you're basically just sharing a bunch of ideas for best practices, and, hey, this was a big waste of time or a big waste of money. I want to make sure you don't experience that too, right? So you don't have to come with anything prepared. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. Just be in the room, because there'll be some topics discussed that almost certainly can help you.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, is it Myra?
Oh yeah,
Myra Albritton is going to be one of the people there.
I totally forgot that. You're right. Okay, so Myra, who is one of our cappers, she has been at the office and in the business for maybe
Since
2
February 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say a little over 2 years, maybe. And she built some really good habits when she was in productivity coaching. And she's Spanish speaking. She's done a lot of work in that arena. She is going to be actually presenting some ideas as well. So very highly recommend you attend that. And again, that'll be at,
And that's the 3:30?
I think it's 3.
3.
Yeah, 3 to 4:30. That will be in the training room as well as on kwroswelltraining.com. Okay.
Okay, super. Thanks.
Welcome. All right, guys, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.